What up, folks? It's Trails. We back. And first and foremost, welcome. And make sure you hit that like and you hit that subscribe. Now, we got this article coming out of the Associated Press that I definitely believe that you should take a listen to. Black graves are being moved to make way for an industrial park. Industrial park drawing a mix of emotions. This is in Danville, Virginia, by the way. A decision to move the remains of hundreds of African American tenant farmers from a former Virginia tobacco plantation to a dedicated burial ground has elicited a range of emotions among sharecroppers' descendants. Some worry about the implications of disturbing the graves of people who were exploited and enslaved. Others hope remains could be identified and reburied with more respect than they were afforded in life. The mostly unidentified remains are being moved from a site that has been part of one of the nation's largest slave owning operations to make way for an industrial park. When they were buried, they weren't considered fully human, but now they are patriots who are coming home, who are coming out of their graves with equal rights in 2025. One descendant, Cedric Hairston, said, archaeologists have already stated exhuming approximately 275 plots, and some of the remains of tenant farmers and their families are already in a funeral home but will be moved to a new burial site about a mile away. Officials have been consulting with descendants about genetic testing on unidentified remains, as well as designs for new cemetery, including a memorial archway. I don't think anybody would want their ancestors exhumed or moved, said Jeff Bennett, whose great 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 grandfather was buried at the plantation. But for them to give us a lot of say so in the new cemetery, down to the design details and plaques and memorials that we put up, I feel like they're really doing it in a dignified way, in a respectful way. African American cemeteries have suffered neglect, abandonment, and destruction over the centuries, but efforts to preserve them are gaining momentum with communities unearthing and rebuilding these crucial links to past generations. Gaslight. Sorry. While generally supportive of the project to move the graves, Hairston worries about the indignity of exhuming the graves of people who were brutalized as slaves and exploited as sharecroppers. It just seems that 100 or so odd years after their death, there's still no rest. The largest enslaver in the South. Oak Hill was part of a family that enslaved thousands of people across 45 plantations and farms in 4 states, according to the Hairstons, a 1999 book by Henry Winchak that chronicles the black and white Hairston families. Samuel Hairston, the plantation's owner, was reputedly the largest enslaver in the South, Winchak wrote. But the grand property has stood mostly empty and unused since sharecropping ended last century. The 1820s plantation house was destroyed by fire in 1988. How convenient. Many who were enslaved at Oak Hill left after emancipation, Winchak wrote. Those who remained at the tenant farmers were often cheated of wages and faced crushing poverty and sometimes violence in the Jim Crow South. Some tenant farmers took the Hairston surname in part because we had no other name to identify with, as the government was collecting data for the census. We brought no last name with us from Africa, Cedric Hairston said, adding, many of our women carried and birthed a Hairston child, never with the support of the law to report that they were raped. The search for Fleming Adams Sr. One of the sharecroppers was Fleming Adams Sr., Bennett's great 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 grandfather known as Flem. He was born into slavery on another plantation in 1830. He later worked at Oak Hill, where he had to duck through doorways because he was so tall, Bennett said. Adams and his wife Martha raised 3 sons, George, Daniel, and Flem Jr., before he died in 1916. His death certificate lists his burial place as Oak Hill. My hopes is that we could discover where Flim is, Bennett said. He was 7 feet tall, so they'd be looking for a bigger coffin, and hopefully there'd be enough of his remains where they could do a DNA sample. Most of the graves in the two secluded sharecropping cemeteries were marked only by moss-covered stones without inscriptions. Rows of depressions in the earth showed where the wooden coffins had collapsed below. Needles from loblolly pines covered many of the plots, open to any and everything. Of course they are. Excuse me. A public entity, the Pennsylvania Danville Regional Industrial Facility Authority, owned by who? Who is the chairman of that place? Acquired 3,500 acres, 1,400 hectares of land that included the former Oak Hill plantation, and Tennessee-based Microporous announced in November it would build a $1.3 billion battery production facility there. It expects to create 2,000 jobs. Now we know why they're doing it. Cough. Virginia's Department of Historical Resources somehow granted a permit in late November to move the graves, noting that this relocation is consistent with the desires of the descendants' families. Let's read that one again. Virginia's Department of Historical Resources granted a permit in late November to move the graves, noting that the relocation is consistent with the desires of the descendants' families. So is the industrial part a desire of the family? Silence fell as they walked into First Cemetery. J.D. Adams, an Oak Hill descendant, said a historical marker must be placed there. We need some time in order to determine what it is we want and how we want it, Adams told Matt Rowe, Pennsylvania County's Economic Developing Director. Rowe replied, I'm open to any and everything. The Industrial Authority has raised $1.3 million from logging the land to fund the project, which is being handled by engineering and consulting company WSP. I wonder who owns them. WSP's archaeologist John Bedell said everything would be collected from each grave shaft, even if it's mostly soil, and transferred to its new space, including the stone that marked it. The firm hopes to finish transferring the graves by early March. Oh, so they're gonna get it done quick. Work on the new burial site and the dedication ceremony will follow in the coming months. Mementos of past lives. Bennett and others recently viewed personal items found in the graves. Protected in plastic bags, they included eyeglasses, a medicine bottle, and a 5-cent coin from 1836. One man was buried with the light bulb socket and an electrical cord. Another man's grave was lined with bricks, indicating he was wealthy. Bennett said those bricks were reproposed at the new burial site, possibly the memorial archway, and inscribed with the names of the deceased. He said descendants are reviewing funeral home records to try to identify those buried in unmarked graves. Given the challenging nature of the task, they may inscribe the names of everyone who lived in the area. I feel like we're re-emphasizing the significance of our ancestors, Bennett said. It's been generations since people used that area to bury people, and now they're rediscovering their stories. Hopefully can continue to tell stories to the next generations. All right, that goes that article there. Now I'm able to give my opinions. First and foremost, I think anyone who supported this is a dumbass nigga, for one. Let's get that right. Two, they used all of this as an excuse to hustle the land up from up under them to make wealth. They're not offering no reparations to any of the families or any of the members or none of that. They're not offering any revenue from said battery plays to any of these people. You know, they make it They shape it up, make it look like, hey, we're doing something very great for you here. We're allowing you to, have some memorial for your ancestors when it's really a scheme for them to come through, scoop up, and build some battery making facilities and make billions of years on the same land. So now it's just like without let's remove the people we have manually forced to do the labor, deny them everything for hundreds of years, come back and then put our stuff on top of it. Act like we're giving them a memorial and continue to cash out while continuing to not give them nothing. And that's exactly what it looks like. This looks like a robbery disguised as they care. And these people who are affected by such said trauma don't see the larger picture. They see memorial, all that. It's the emotional aspect. They don't see the financial long term ramifications and benefits for said so companies that are able to come through. It's already March 3rd. They probably gonna be done by March 6th. They're just bulldozing and shifting into the side so they can hurry up and get that landscaping done before the ink dries. And you see that? They have no problem coming through, scooping up all that so they can plow all this down and make some money. And that's all they want to do. That's what it's all about. And some people are very ignorant. And that's why you can't handle situations with emotions, especially situations that affect you personally, because you will fail to be able to see the larger picture. And you think something is a blessing, but you're going to be robbed. Let's see what the comments got to say about it. We'll go to the most recent because this is a 2-day article. I want to see what the newest say. Make it a historical landmark. VA State. No, they're not. And that's the thing. They're supposed to landmark the area, but since, the building was burned down in 1988, it's just land now. Let's just take over the land, bulldoze it, push your shit to the side and give that to you a mile away. Yeah, do not let them disturb those graves. It's another land grab, theft. This is not an unusual story. I don't care about none of that. I am Native American and I am appalled by this. Graves should not be disturbed under any circumstances unless they are in danger of a sinkhole, slide, or a cliff. Before long, only cremation will be allowed. This land is for the living. It's running out. I just think I'd rather be able to visit my family members in a nice place with the swing, weeping willow tree, bird baths. That's just me. You's a dumb bitch. This industrial park will not get built unless they're willing to pay the descendants millions. And that's what I'm saying. Unless they willing to cut in. So how much money? They already said 1.3 million. They got 1.3 billion ready to go. You know what I'm saying? I personally don't think this should be moved. This makes me feel bad. And it's also historical. Make that cemetery as nice as the place that they're going to be moved to. If the relatives of the ancestors are okay with the move, then of course, but maybe obtaining the ancestor DNA makes it worth the move easier to accept. I had my say. I'd say leave them be. God bless. Yes, make sure to include the race to keep us divided and racist. Good job, Democrat-owned media. Let them bury the dead. They should make the area a nice nature park and memorial because additional people may be buried there unknown. And they know that. They don't care. They only care about sweeping up the ones that, faintly can still be shown. They don't give a damn. They're going to concrete over all that. Nothing to see here. More sprawl and loss of open space, not to mention how disrespectful it is to those who are resting in peace. Happens to white people more. No, I doubt that. Just build on top of it. Save money. Alright, I'm done with the comments. But yeah, let me know what you think about in the comments. Do you agree with me that, hey, yeah, this is a land grab. This is horrible. This is what they trying to do. They're disguising the memorial and the give a fucks like they give a fuck, but they don't really give a fuck. They ain't mentioning no money. They ain't mentioning trying to get none of them family members any of that money. Oop, my bad. Any of that money, anything. So, as far as I'm concerned, this is nothing more than horse shit and a land grab and a theft. So let me know what you think in the comments. You can disagree, it's okay. But if you do or you don't, make sure you first and foremost hit that like and you hit that subscribe. That's it for this one. Thanks for watching. And as always, you know what it is. Deuces.